All right, I'm making this video primarily because I do want to show you how to address one of the problems in problem set number 1. This is perhaps the most difficult problem, so I'm going to show you how to do it, and this will help you understand two important concepts in microeconomics, which are marginal benefit and marginal cost. And this question is aimed at understanding these two very important concepts related to opportunity cost and microeconomics. So this is problem number 6. It is the famous tomato problem. It reads, to earn extra money in the summer, you grow tomatoes and sell them at a farmer's market for 30 cents per pound. By adding compost to your garden, you realize that you can increase your yield as shown in the table below, and I gave you the table in the problem set. If compost costs 50 cents per pound, and your goal is to make as much profit as possible, how many pounds of compost should you add? So some of the key concepts surrounding this problem are the concepts of marginal benefit and marginal cost. How much will I benefit from adding 1 more pound of compost? Because you can see that the more compost that you add, the less yield that you get per pound of compost. You do not just constantly get this infinite yield. There is a limit to how much yield you have as you add more pounds of compost. For instance, if you add that first pound of compost, you're getting 20 more pounds of tomato. But if you add a second pound of compost, you only get 5 more pounds of tomatoes. So there is a decreasing benefit as you add pounds of compost. So I'm wanting to see when I should stop adding compost, when it will no longer be profitable for me to add compost. So that's marginal benefit. The other key concept in this problem is marginal cost. How much will it cost me to add 1 more pound of compost? Because eventually it's going to cost me more to add that compost than what I'm going to get back in pounds of tomatoes. And so at some point, I will be spending more on compost than I will be getting back in profit. So I want to stop at some point. So I'm looking for the point where it will cost me more than it will benefit me to add compost. When should I stop adding compost? Well, I want to stop adding compost when I am no longer making money from adding it, or where marginal benefit is less than or equal to marginal cost. So I'm looking for that point where marginal cost is greater than marginal benefit, or it's equal to marginal benefit. So one of the things that I would recommend is making a chart, as I have displayed here. This is how I solved this problem. What I did is in the first 2 columns, I just copied the chart that I included in the problem here. So as you can see, I've got my pounds of compost and then my pounds of tomatoes. And I just copied those over. So what I am wanting to find out is how many extra pounds of tomatoes do I get in each instance from adding the pounds of compost? So I created an extra pounds of tomatoes column, and then I want to find out what is my marginal benefit. How much am I going to profit from adding the compost, and then what is my marginal cost for adding each pound of compost? Well, in this situation, the marginal cost column is pretty easy to figure out, because every time that I add 1 pound of compost, it's costing me 50 cents more. So here in this column, it's just always going to be 50 cents. Because as you can see, the pounds of compost I'm adding are just going up by 1 increment 1 pound, right? And so every time I add 1 pound, it's going to cost me 50 more cents, okay? So how did I get the extra pounds of tomato? Well, all I did was look at how much of an increase in pounds of tomatoes do I get in each scenario as I add 1 pound of compost. So in this case, I just subtracted 120 from 100 to get to 20. In this case, I subtracted 125 from 120 because in the next situation, I get 125 tomatoes, okay? So that's how I got that number, okay? So that's how, but I've given you these numbers so you can just create your graph and put them in. Now, how do I find out marginal benefit? Marginal benefit is pretty easy to find out. In this case, marginal benefit is 20 because that's the amount of extra tomatoes I'm getting. In this situation, how much benefit am I getting? Well, I have got 20 tomatoes that I'm getting from adding the pound of compost. So what I'm going to do is I am going to multiply that by 30 cents a pound. And my answer would be, in this case, adding the first pound of compost is going to yield me $6 more or $6 of profit, which is good, you know? So $6 in profit. Now, as you're going to see, as we calculate marginal benefit going forward, we are going to get less and less marginal benefit. So in this case, I'm only getting 5 more tomatoes out of adding compost. So that's 5, and I'm going to multiply that times 30 cents. And what do I get here? Is I get what? I'm only getting $1.50 in marginal benefit. In this next situation, I'm only getting 90 cents. And as you can see, my marginal benefit is going down as I add more compost. I'm only getting 60 cents here. In this case, at 5 pounds of compost, I'm only getting 30 cents of marginal benefit if I add 5 pounds of compost. And then at 6 pounds of compost, I'm only getting 15% of marginal benefit. So at some point, I'm going to have to determine that I know it's no longer benefiting me to add compost. It's actually costing me more to add compost, and I'm not getting any benefit from adding all this compost. At some point, I got to stop adding the compost. So where would that be? Well, let's go back to the note that we made. We are looking for the place where marginal benefit is less than or equal to marginal cost. So where is that here? Well, I see here that if I'm adding 3 pounds of compost, I'm still getting more marginal benefit than I am than it's costing me. So I don't want to stop here. Okay. And then if I go down to 4 pounds of compost, if I add 4 pounds of compost, I'm still getting 60 cents in marginal benefit and only 50 cents in marginal cost. But notice here, at 5 pounds of compost, I'm only getting 30 cents in marginal benefit, but it's costing me 50 cents. So the point that I want to stop at is I want to stop at 4 pounds of I want to stop at 4 pounds of compost. I don't want to add any more past here. Okay? So the answer to this question is essentially this. Okay? You should stop at 4 pounds of compost and add no more. Because at 5 pounds of compost, my marginal cost, which is 50 cents, is greater than my marginal benefit, right, at 30 cents. So I should stop at 4 pounds. I should not add a 5th pound or a 6th pound. I should stop at 4 pounds. Okay? Because at that point, past that point, I'm no longer getting any benefit. I should not add, 4.1 pounds or 4.2 pounds or 4.5 pounds. I should stop at 4 pounds according to this scenario. So that's the answer. That's how I got it. Now, what I want you to do is I still want you to do this problem, and I want you to try to work it out on your own, add up, multiply all the different columns, but try it yourself and see if you understand the concept. Good luck.